Hi, I'm Drew.
And I'm Sam.
And welcome to Drewling Samantics.
Hey!
Oh, good morning, good afternoon, welcome, Sam. Look at that little smug face. You've been on your travels, haven't you?
I see. Well, yeah, mate. Can you see the tan? Am I looking a bit brown?
No, I mean, I would be surprised. I'd be annoyed if I saw a tan. But so tell everyone where you've been. Where have you been, Sam?
I have been to the exotic isle of Jersey. I've not been that far. Let's be honest. It's not. I've not been round the world. I've been. In fact, funny thing. It took longer to drive to the airport than the flight. Like, yeah. So it's not far to go from London. That is true. But yes,
and also, I mean, I accuse you of going on a jolly. You have been working,
oh
Sam.
God, yeah. I mean,
you've been working.
Yeah, don't give ideas to the bosses thinking that when they send us away we're living life and enjoying things. God no, working hard, mate.
No, working hard, no enjoyment.
To sort of quantify and what have you. Yes, we love what we do, so we're lucky to do our job every single day. And there are the odd perks. In fact, we did a whole episode about perks of the job and stuff, didn't we?
We did.
And one of them is that sometimes you do get to go abroad or get to go to different countries, wonderful places. And I was lucky enough that this weekend I was doing a couple of shows in a hotel in Jersey. I say this weekend just gone. And it was lovely. It was really, really nice. We were treated really well. The audiences were great. The shows went really well. So yeah, it was a real pleasure to be there, and very, very lucky to be able to say that as part of my job, I got to be abroad. I mean, equally, I'll just to sort of give another side to it. What I earned was just the same as if I'd been doing shows in this country. So I didn't get like supplementary for being away and didn't get paid travel days and stuff. It was literally a case of if I'd done 2 shows in the hotel across the road from my flat, I would have earned as much as I did doing this. So there are sort of ups and downs to it in that I had to spend 3 whole days away where I could do no other work, only earning what I could do in 2 evenings back home. But equally, I got to go to a nice place and it was really successful. So there you go. There's the 2 sides of it. I'd certainly rather be on the side of it of going to a nice place and performing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there we are. But and what about you, mate? I know you've been on your travels too.
Yeah, all right. It may not be quite as. I mean, and this is no slur on Manchester, but I took a trip up to Manchester, and there was no chance of any tan there, mate. I can tell you that.
But it was a successful trip, though.
Yeah, it was. We've got a big costume, a big skin, a Rudolph skin, which we use. Which we don't use every Christmas, but we rested it last year. We had a big snowman costume last year, which is beautiful. But obviously, every time it's used, it gets cleaned. Maybe not completely all the fur and everything because it's a long process, but we certainly have the inside cleaned, and so anybody and then the next person wearing it will be comfortable. Just in
case there are any young children watching, Drew hasn't literally skinned Rudolph.
Oh no.
This is a costume for a lookalike for Rudolph.
It's a body double. Rudolph's body double. When Rudolph's not around, this takes over. Yes, absolutely. But we went up to a company called Frenzy, which is based in Manchester. So we took the costume up and dropped it off to them, and they'll clean and repair and everything. But an amazing place. I mean, it was one of these big old mills, Victorian mills in Manchester, just outside Manchester. I mean, huge building. I mean, look at it and go, bloody hell. You get Wembley Stadium in there twice, it's like, Christ. But, I mean, fascinating. We sort of went up to their studio, and there in the studio are dozens and dozens of heads and costumes because they're making stuff all the time. Yeah. They make mascots, and they make, company logo skins and that sort of thing. But there was just sort of beautiful costumes. I mean, stunning. You just think there was a rabbit head, and this rabbit head was just like, it just looked like a rabbit. It was out about 3 or 4 feet across and everything. It was massive, but
But
beautiful.
quite realistic there. But it's
Oh,
mad,
it's
mate,
stunning.
that you're diving into costume stuff for Christmas already. But I suppose we are now mid-October, give or take. So
Yeah, we took all the costumes the other day for elves and Santas and things like that, and took those off to be dry cleaned and looked after. It's a long process. It's worth doing because when you get them back, the costumes look stunning, and people go wow, and if you can't shortchange that, as you know, if you shortchange on anything, people know that's the thing they pick up on. They don't very often go that looks amazing, but if it's wrong, they'll go that's a bit shit.
yeah, I guess I'd never thought about it like that. But costume is such a huge part of what we do, whether that's
Massive.
film, TV,
Yeah.
theatre, whatever. And actually, it's so integral and can be make or break. Like
Yeah.
we've both worked in places and for people where perhaps there hasn't been a costume budget, or they haven't been able to perhaps go all out, so to speak. And it does notice. Doesn't mean it completely takes away from your end result, but equally, if you can go above and beyond and can sort of meet the highest standards for costume, it does add something. It's a really, I've never really thought that in depth about costume, I guess. But
Yeah,
you as a producer have to.
Also, I mean, the other side. I mean, you often. I mean, you go. I think I'm going to look like this, and sometimes they show you the costume you're going to be wearing, or a design for it. And you go, I can't wait to put that on, and you get it, and you put it on, and you feel amazing.
Yeah.
Sometimes, obviously, you put them on, and they're difficult to work in, and you have to get used to them. And you think, well, can I wear the jacket and the trousers during rehearsals, please, to get used to it, and that, But there are those times where you just put and you look forward to going to work because you think, I just love this costume. I had one for Panto years ago playing Flesh Creep, and I had this long black coat and this top hat and gloves and boots and leather trousers and all this. And you used to put it on, and when I walked on, the audience went, ooh, because they knew. You think, yeah, that works just right, and it felt great.
Yeah.
And I was doing the show in Sheffield and opposite in the Crucible Theatre, they were doing Oliver, and it was amazing because the guy playing Bill Sykes had a similar costume, with the Victorian hat and everything. And I went to see Oliver one night, and I went, he's wearing my costume. And he had an amazing entrance. He rose up through the floor on a lift. All this smoke, and I thought, right, that's what I want. So I went back to the stage manager. I said, when I come on, I said, can you jet some smoke behind me and that? And he went, you've seen Oliver, haven't you? I went, yeah. But the costume was superb. So it really, really, it's stunning.
I mean, neither of us have sadly had the opportunity, but I can imagine being a superhero on film, like Marvel or DC.
Oh, yeah.
Put on something like the feeling of that must be like.
I am Superman,
Captain America, and Spider-Man. Any of those super recognizable to be an iconic character. Superman is probably like no other point could you wear pants outside your trousers and feel like the Don, the big man. Like, but I guess It's
interesting because I mean it's like you played Captain Hook and you'll be playing Captain Hook, recognizable character, iconic character. Playing Santa, iconic. If they don't look right, they don't tick the box. So
I guess there's expectations, aren't there? And we've talked about sort of like other things in that respect, like cross-gendering roles or what have you, different racial backgrounds for certain roles that you perhaps associate with others. And we're not saying that's a negative in any way, shape or form. It's a good thing to be able to be creative with these things. But there are also expectations. And like, as you say, Santa, if Santa's not red, if his outfit isn't red with white trim, then you sort of go, well, hang on, that's not right. Doesn't mean it can't be. I mean, and I'm not going to be quoted on this. Please don't quote me on this, anyone, because I don't know that it's completely true. But something in the back of my mind says originally Santa was in green because he was like
Green. Yeah, yeah.
so,
There's
a
I
rumor
think
that Coca-Cola made him red or something.
there's all sorts of sort of social, myths and apocryphal little stories about it. I believe green, and I think, and again, I could be saying the same as you. Don't quote me, but I think Harrods used to have a green Santa. I mean, their store is green. That's their signature color. But I believe they went traditional and had a green Santa Claus. But yeah, he's so. And I think they've done that kind of that's special, and But yeah, there's yeah, and the funny thing is, lots of people that play Santa add little touches of their own. I've seen Santa played with bunches of keys on his belt, different coloured gloves. I mean, a lot of Santas wear white. I happen to wear red because they're more practical. They don't get as dirty. Otherwise, you have one pair of gloves a day. It's like they get filthy. You shake hands with sort of like 800 people by the end of the day. You think they get that in the bin.
Oh yeah,
but yeah, exactly. But yeah, different boots, and I put a little bit of glitter in my beard, so when you turn, the beard glistens. That's a little trick of mine.
But it's sort of, they say clothes maketh the man, but in this case, I guess costume maketh the character.
Quite literally.
And I mean, like I referenced a minute ago, we've done stuff where perhaps there hasn't been the budget for it, and particularly in a lot of the work we do, where we do play recognisable characters. Yeah, I mean, you can pick out, for example, Basil and Manuel in Fawlty Towers. We've said before, we do these shows, and obviously to be these characters does take hard work, and you have to commit to it. But equally, half the work is done in the sense that because they're recognisable and because people are going into these shows, anything like if you were going to watch the Harry Potter play, or if you were going to see, I don't know, the Wicked film, having already seen the musical, they've already sort of set a standard in certain ways. So you have these expectations, and you're going into these things going, right, so I know I will recognise blah 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 because they will be wearing this, they will look like this, their hair will be like this. That again doesn't mean to say that's the only way to do things. It's certainly not. You have, we live in a creative, we work in a creative industry, so there is that law of being able to sort of adjust things and change things as long as it doesn't cross uncrossable boundaries, if you see what I mean.
I do, yeah.
But with regards to some of the stuff we do, for you, Manuel, he will always have that white sort of blazery jacket, black trousers, and a recognisable moustache. And those are elements of costume, because you don't wander around wearing black trousers and white jacket, and you don't often have a moustache. But
not much of the time, but quite a lot of the time. But yeah, it becomes something you put on. Yeah, and if you feel right, and as you say, you're halfway there. I mean, the costume does an awful lot for us.
Yeah.
But then, it's 25% of the work is done. But also, like you say, you've got to do it because people are expecting to see that, aren't they? If you walk in and you're not looking right, people will go, oh,
Well, exactly. And can you imagine? Like, I'm lucky enough, and I'm pretty sure you are as well, that I've never gone out and someone's gone, "Who's that?" No. When you're playing a recognisable character. It's intriguing, isn't it? And I understand that people are restrained in certain areas because of budgeting, but equally, we've both worked on big budget stuff, and the costumes can be absolutely mind blowing. Like particularly period stuff. We've both done sort of stuff where the costumes have had to fit within a time frame, and when the costume team was sort of going, right, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, sometimes you just go, wow, like, where'd you go?
It's true. I mean, the period thing I did earlier the year, and they said, oh, you're playing the parson, the vicar, and I walked in, and there was this beautiful sort of black, all the whole thing, and I was performing a wedding ceremony, so the whole thing was with a black stole, and you put it on, the shoes and everything. It was like, Yeah, I feel $1 million in this.
Yeah.
It's, now I can, and and sometimes you think my performance will go up 10% simply because I know I look right. Gives you the confidence to perform, and
Yeah,
it's
actually,
so
that
making
side
you
of it,
feel good.
how
Yeah.
it makes you feel. I get, yeah, there's certainly that element. So, a stupid thing, you mentioned Captain Hook earlier. You could put that whole costume on, put the wig, the hat, everything, but I didn't feel like Captain Hook until I had on my hook.
Yeah.
And that was the last thing I always put on because it's bloody difficult to open the door.
Yeah.
So, but and I'm lucky enough that I'm going to be able to do that again this year. But yeah, definitely, I think there is a change within you as well.
Mm.
When can you fully become a character without being in their costume? If they're maybe not. Maybe it does take that step and it does feel different. Um, there are so many like characters we could reference and people we could talk about that are not made by their costume, but are perhaps completed by their costume. And you could say the same about props as well, couldn't you?
Yeah.
The trigger from Only Fools and Horses. I used to walk out when we used to do those shows, and he wore a tweed jacket, a pair of black trousers, a pair of black shoes. Not that noticeable. Stick a fairly gormless look on your face to get, but holding a broom. And you were party to it numerous times. I'd walk out and people would start laughing from the moment I was there. I hadn't said
Yeah.
anything, I hadn't done anything, I was just there. But they go, "There's a bloke holding a broom. That's Trigger. He's going to be funny." And that was enough to
Job
start.
done.
Yeah,
Job done. It's interesting you because you were talking about small budgets and getting into a costume, and as you know, I did the summer rep this year, and
yeah,
a lot of that, apart from when they do the period stuff, it's like because of a limited budget and a limited resources. I kind of worked out my costumes for it, and for what the middle play, I had 4 costumes.
wow,
So it was 4 looks. It was and 4 different periods. So okay, the first one was a dinner suit. Well, dinner jackets and bow ties haven't changed for 150, 200 years. Or 100 years. They're the same. That wasn't difficult. The next one was a teacher in the sort of headmaster, and I had a tweed suit. I had a school tie, an old school tie, brogues and everything. And then someone said, "We've got a teacher's, what they call them, I can't remember, gown."
like capes or
Yeah,
gown.
the black gown. They said, "We've got one." I know one. A lady said, "I've got one of those. You can have that." Put that on. Instantly, headmaster. I mean, I looked like all the headmasters from all the Carry On films and all the, all the old sort of 50s and 60s school comedies. There I was.
Yeah,
But it was interesting using my clothes a lot. I mean, 75, 80% were my clothes, and you're putting them in, and you're thinking, I've worn this suit, to go out in, but now I'm wearing it as a character. And it's like it has a different feel because it's on stage. And I've got a tweed jacket, and I wore this tweed jacket at numerous plays, self tapes, and all the rest of it. And every time I wear it, it's different when I wear it for that character. If you know what I mean, it's no longer Drew's jacket. It's John Smith's jacket, who is a detective constable and blah blah blah. It suddenly changes, and for the period of time you're wearing it, and I lovely. I got to play one of my favourite parts, Joseph in Strictly Murder, and his costume is complete. I mean, I spent 3 days, and I think I told you, breaking down a pair of trousers, shirts, and everything to make it look like he lived in a ditch.
yeah.
I mean, I was in my digs, rolling the trousers in earth and spraying my coat with stuff. And I mean, my landlady must have thought I was barking, but when I put it on, I felt and looked. I thought, no, it feels right, And I'd done it myself. It's like I've made, and many of the dames we spoke to. One year I spent 3 months making dames costumes for myself. I produced 12 costumes. Because I made them, I love them anyway, but I made them to feel exactly how I wanted them to look and feel. But yeah, and I mentioned self-tapes. Very often when we do a self-tape, it says, "Could you look like the character?"
Well, yeah, exactly. So then you can only go with what you've got because you're at home doing this. And I mean, we'd all love to have the budget to go, right, I've got a self-tape for a fireman. I'm going to go and rent a fireman's costume or what have you.
Yeah.
But that's just not feasible most of the time. Although, going slightly off topic, I've got a bit of a story about renting costumes. And bear with me, it's sort of a convoluted story. But did a dinner theatre show a few years ago, hello themed. So obviously the resistance in France during the war, blah blah blah. And the person we were performing for, it was a lady's birthday, and she was, how do I phrase this? She was comfortably wealthy. We don't need to go any further than that. I think she lived in the UAE or somewhere like that, and she'd flown back to the UK to celebrate her birthday, and she was a fan of Hello, and she decided she was going to hire one of the companies that we've worked for to perform this show, which is a dinner theatre. So you've got a three-course meal and you've got sort of entertainment going on during it and a storyline. Now, as I said, she was comfortably wealthy. So she had hired an entire golf club. So the course, they played like a couple of rounds of golf over this weekend, and then they had something one evening and something another evening and us another evening. So there were 9 of them. So it was not like, on this whole thing, like the whole place, but just for 9 of them. She was celebrating a big birthday, but she'd brought in, and this will all lead to what I'd started talking about, I promise. But she hired us to perform this show. She'd brought in a specialist accordion player, piano accordion squeeze box.
Yeah.
He was from France. She'd flown him in from France, literally just to play music in between the bits we weren't doing while they were eating. She'd hired a photographer. She'd hired a DJ, who in turn had to hire a dance floor because this golf club didn't have the facility to do that. Dance floor alone was over £1,000, I think he said.
Yeah, great.
So she had certainly not scrimped on anything. And this is where it leads back to. So obviously we're performing for this company. They provide costumes because sometimes companies expect you to provide certain bits, but most people don't have a German army uniform or a French resistance sort of like, or whatever, those kind of things. So they can't expect that. So our costumes were okay. They did the job. They led you to believe that you were that character, and then obviously you enhance that with expressions, your accent, your characterization, all that sort of stuff. So we were fine. But as said, and I was saying it the last time, this lady was clearly comfortably wealthy. I believe she'd hired all the costumes for her 9 guests. Oh my God. They were unbelievable. Like, she might as well have phoned up the BBC or whoever produced the Hello and said, have you still got those costumes floating around? Because we want the originals. They were that good. And it's a little bit odd to sort of go out and think, oh, I'm about to do a show, I'm playing this character, and then seeing someone else who's got a far better costume. But yeah, so you can go mad, and you can hire the best of the best, but sometimes it has to be in line with what you're doing and why, doesn't it?
I had a similar experience. We were doing a Fawlty Towers birthday party, and again, a lady, she was celebrating. I think it was her 50th, 60th birthday. I think it was. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But she again, comfortably well off, hired the pub. To up the entire upstairs of this pub. So there was a restaurant, there was a separate bar and lounge area. She had a band on to play, and she had us. And she said, I want you to do the meet and greet. There's about 100 guests. Meet and greet, and then sort of work the tables, and then after the main course, you've done. And she sent downstairs. She said, I'm going to send you downstairs to the restaurant. I've got a table booked for you. Go down there and just order what you like.
Yeah.
It's like, wow. But then she said, all my guests have been sent instructions of the character I want them to dress as.
Right.
So all the guests were in fancy dress, and you had everything from Margaret Thatcher to Hyacinth Bouquet.
Yeah.
God rest her.
Yeah.
There were you had James Bonds. There was a Donald Trump, of course. All these characters, and she sent them all, and there was a reason for all these people had had their characters. Like one woman was playing Hyacinth Bouquet. She was the head of the local WI, so she had something. So she picked all these costumes really well. There was a guy that ran a garden centre. He was Wurzel Gummidge, and his wife was Aunt Sally. So she'd done it really cleverly.
Amazing.
So all these people were coming in and we're going, hello there. And we were, Basil was announcing them. So, ladies and gentlemen, Wurzel and Aunt Sally. And then they would come.
Yeah.
And then, so they were all sent a reason for dressing as the character. And then we were standing there. And this is no word of a lie. A guy came in dressed as Jimmy Savile. And it was like, oh, too soon. But then, the three of us, Verona was playing Sybil, and Ed Wells, one of our lovely guests, playing Basil, and we went, what the hell did he do to be sent the instructions to dress as Jimmy Savile? But again, the lovely thing was, I mean, all the characters were great, and people were entering into the spirit of things, and it made for a lovely, the idea of people taking on those personas, because part of them led to that. But it was like, what does he do? And I was standing there going, God's sake, I hope he's not a headmaster or anything like that, or I hope it was all these things going through your mind, and he was so embarrassed. And after the initial
he
did it. After the initial sort of like, and he went right, and he lost the wig, and he lost all the jewelry and everything. So in the end, he was just a man in a sparkly tracksuit. So I said to him, "You could be David Icke. Be David Icke. Look, David Icke. Be David Icke, who is equally barking, but for a completely and quite honestly far better reason, But it was like, he's David Icke now. He's not, But it was just sort of this moment of, what the hell, Very funny. But isn't it? I mean, that's great. That's an iconic for all the wrong reasons look. But all these looks that people were wearing, and they're just punters. But goes to show how important that as you said earlier, if you look like something.
The power of costume to do half the storytelling for you, or a portion of the storytelling for you, and I mean we've worn weird and wonderful stuff. There are quite a lot of times where you have to wear your own things, and that also comes into, just to remove some of the glamour perhaps again of what we do. There are times where if you don't provide your own things, you're going to end up being uncomfortable, because some companies will provide, but because they're constantly working and they have a large group of actors, what's available is, should we go with generic fit? I think that's probably fair to say. Not everyone is 6'1". Not everyone is 2'8", or whatever you claim to be. So certain companies will have to go, look, we have to be realistic. We have to go for an average. We can look at the 5 or 6 actors that we have who always play this role, or we can look at the sort of average size of 30 to 50-year-old man in the UK, and we can go within that. But they can never, if the budget isn't sort of unlimited, you can never accommodate everyone. And obviously it's different in film, where normally you are dealt with as an individual. But there are always going to be limitations and stuff, and so also on that note, with these smaller companies, I mean, you see on the casting breakdowns and all the platforms, and very often it will say looking for a policeman. If you have your own uniform, and you think any actor on there with their own uniform, whether they're good, bad, or indifferent, whether they look like what the character is, they're going to get the job because they've got a bloody uniform, and it's like, or if you get like role play jobs or corporate, you've got to have your own suit. And again, it's one of those things we've spoken about in the past, of having things in the wardrobe, or things in a store cupboard that you never wear, and you think, oh, that's it. It's going to be the suit this week, or I've got to wear. Do you think it almost encourages you to become a little bit of a hoarder as a performer, because you'll sort of go, oh, I'm never going to wear that again. That's really out of fashion, or I don't like that, or that's not something that I really that suits me. But in the back of your mind, you go, but what if?
Exactly.
It's intriguing. But equally, there's nothing quite like, and this is a little bit of a confession here. There's nothing quite like knowing you're about to do something, and the production team have gone, look, we can get this in, or if you're happy to source, we can sort of sort you out with the budget, and we can refund reimburse you. Going to a charity shop to find a costume. I love it. I don't know what it is about it, but obviously there are limitations. It tends to only be sort of if you're playing a character who is normalish and within the last 20 to 30 years time scale, because you don't often going into or finding props, things like walking sticks and glasses and stuff like that. Just there's something magical, I think, about it, because you feel like you're building that character.
Well, that's a lot of, and it's like I said about wearing your own stuff, but when you've selected something and you say, I can see, I mean, I know I've sent, I picked a jacket up in a charity shop, taken a photograph and sent it to wardrobe or sent it to someone going, will this work? And they come back and go, it's absolutely perfect. You go, yes. But also it's that thing of playing the character going, I think I know this character. I think I think I would look like that. And I think I would feel like that. And it's all part of the research, isn't it? If you have time to research and work on the character, it is all part of that. I mean, we had an exercise, I remember at drama school, where we did it. It's a Stanislavski exercise. We spent a week building a character, and we worked on the sound, the voice, all that sort of thing. We improvised. We spent sort of like 3 or 4 hours in of an afternoon in that character, interacting with people within your character, and then by the end of the week, we would enter the room as that character. So in some way or form, we had to get a costume together. There was a costume department in the drama school. No, you're not allowed to use that. You've got to go and find this stuff. As you said, you've got to go out and build this from the ground up. I might have a shirt, I might have a pair of shoes, but I got to go out and find something. And it was really good fun, and I've always enjoyed that ever since. Going out and going, I've got an excuse to go to a charity shop, or I've got an excuse, and army surplus. I can go, great fun. I love doing that.
Yeah, I'll leave you with one last thing, because I know we've got to get on because we've both got lots going on today. But one of my favourite ever moments, and this is going to seem really simplistic, and it might not make, but I did banter a few years ago, playing the villain, but it was a very small cast. So the back end of the cowl was the DSM, and like a couple of us had to like do curtains and stuff. Very sort of small, limited crew. So we all sort of mucked in, and there was a ghost gag in this particular panto. And for anyone that doesn't know, it's where the ghost creeps up behind and very silly gag, and one by one they all disappear and scream and run off, and then at the end the ghost gets scared by the dame. Ha ha ha, the dame is scarier than the ghost. We didn't have a ghost, and the only person or only character who is not in the ghost gag traditionally is the villain. Now, I obviously played villain, so I needed to be the ghost. Now, I'm 6'1", so the sheet was quite big to cover me and had eye holes, but because it was big, it was quite heavy, and I found that running around, the eye holes would just slip. So you'd end up with my nose out of one, and I couldn't see the bloody hell where I was going. So my ingenious way to combine costume and props and my love for going to a charity shop, I went out charity shop. I'm thinking, what can I do? How can I fix this? And I ended up not in a charity shop, but I will precursor this by saying other glasses and sight places are available. I ended up in Specsavers, and I said to them, this is completely random, but I don't suppose you have any old glasses frames that are either sort of can't be used anymore or what have you. And they said, do you know what? Yeah, we do. And they brought out this massive box, and I found the biggest, thickest, like, frames, like proper, like, sort of Joe 90 kind of real thick glasses.
Yeah.
And what I did was I glued them to the back of the ghost costume, to where the eye holes were. So when I put this pair of glasses on, and it held my ghost in place, and that's one of my proudest costume moments ever, because it was such a ridiculous solution, but it worked perfectly.
It worked.
Not once did I end up a blind ghost.
See, a little bit of, little bit of thought and,
Yeah. Yes.
Well done,
Sometimes I use my brain, which a lot of people who know me would question. So there you go. So we've talked seriously about costume. We've talked lots of different bits and how important it is. But we're going to leave you with the thought that I took some old glasses and stuck them to the back of a ghost.
Little invention worked wonders.
That's Drewling Samantics for you. We're
Brilliant.
full of great stuff until we're not.
Well, we don't have to worry next week. Don't have to worry next week.
Well, no, that's true.
Because we have a very wonderful guest who, it has to be said, we've tried very, very, very hard to get to join us, because this wonderful guest is incredibly busy, incredibly talented, and someone as you say, we've been wanting to talk for a long time. So won't have to worry about us being inventive next week. We'll just leave it all up to our wonderful guest.
No, completely lazy next week. Just wind up our guest, let them go. Listen to all the fantastic stories and the secrets behind who they are and what they do. And people don't need to worry about us. So until that time, we've got a busy week, both of us, but looking forward to the end of it, coming back to do some more podcasting, and we'll be in our costumes. Hey, yeah, see?
Hey, I love it.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. So if you're not on YouTube, we obviously wear our Drewling Samantics tops when we do the podcast. Do they make a difference? Well, I think they do. I feel like I put my Drewling Samantics top on. I'm like, right, it's podcast time. Like, I think
it's the only time I wear it is so put it on. It's like podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yes,
brilliant.
Until then, mate. Have a fabulous week. Hope busyness is not too overwhelming and things are successful. And everyone else, as always, thank you for joining us. Come back next week where there'll be someone far more interesting and entertaining than the two of us to tell you all about what they do and why. So we'll see you then. Cheers, everyone.
Take care, man. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks again for watching this episode of Drewling Samantics.
Please make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video.
Don't forget, we're also available as audio only. Just search Drewling Samantics in any good podcast app. And please support us on social media. All our links and handles are on screen now.
We love welcoming new followers and subscribers, so why not share with your family and friends so they can join in too? Thanks very much. See you next time.